Hi everyone, welcome back to most of you, if not all of you, to Latin, and welcome to Latin 2. This week we're going to kick off our review with looking at nouns. I'll talk about the e-sessions, alright, and then the reference folder. The reference folder you should be familiar with from last year, but hopefully summer has been long and relaxing, so you might need a little refresher, and then we'll take a look at nouns and how they fit into things. All right, so we're doing something different with e-sessions this year. At least we're going to try to do something different. The goal is for me to pre-record the content, post those for you to watch on your own time, and then for the live e-sessions to be essentially question and answer periods, practice periods, alleviating any confusion periods, things like that. All right. So I won't really have anything prepared for the live e-sessions. They will be kind of up to you, where you want me to go, what you want me to do. I'll do a lot of screen sharing, use the web, use exercises I have. The content, the recorded content, the pre-made content will be here in the posted ones. All right. It should be relatively straightforward in terms of what you remember from before. So the live e-sessions still will be accessed there. The interface is a little bit new. I'm trying to get used to that myself. And then I will post the recorded e-sessions here, and you should be familiar with this menu from last year. All right, let's talk about the reference folder. This is in your week 1 lessons folder. So again, just by way of touring. All right, oops, sorry about that. There we go. All right, there's your lessons folder, right? And then we're going to week 1, orientation and welcome, and then at the top of the week 1 folder is that reference folder. And in that folder, you'll find things that you'll need throughout the year, so it will be a good idea to remember that it's there and to access it. You might even want to download a bunch of stuff so that you have it a little more easily accessible. Certainly the course guide is here. We're not going to go over that here, but you should read that and make sure you're familiar with kind of policies and approaches, things like that. What we're going to be looking at is the textbook resources. Whoops, sorry about that. The textbook resources here, and these books here. All right. Okay, so looking at the textbook resources. These are kind of pulled out from your textbook. You will have these as part of your textbook. But it might be easier to have them as separate files. They might be easier to refer to. And if you're at one part of the textbook, you don't have to scroll back and forth between the two different parts. So obviously Latin to English vocabulary. All right, and you've got all your words laid out there. Sorry about that. Just had to pause as the phone rang. So you've got your Latin to English vocab. The numbers on the right here, okay, these are chapter numbers. So that tells you where a vocab word comes from. The English to Latin vocab below it, all right, obviously has the English to Latin available. You can see the English on the left there, and of course the Latin on the left there. This will be useful for your English to Latin work, which often happens as part of the writing summatives and as part of the formatives. Right. You've also got the morphology reference section. Morphology is simply endings. All right, so that's a good way to have all of your endings in place. And you can see this is sort of the first page here, that there are some, kind of lists of terms, things like that, before we get into the endings, which are down here. All right. And then finally, on the bottom left here, the vocabulary by chapter. So this way, if you're working on a specific chapter, exercises in a specific chapter, again, you can have that open either in a separate window or at least as a separate document, so you don't have to go scrolling back and forth between them in the book itself. You can have them separate. So that vocabulary by chapter is useful for the exercises. Okay, so here in this blue box are 2 versions of the same book. This is a resource that I myself prepared. It's another morphology reference. Morphology, again, is just the forms, the endings, those kinds of things. There's not really a lot of grammatical explanation. The iBooks version, this one, is very useful if you have an Apple device, a Mac, an iPad, a phone, or an iPod. The latter two, of course, will be relatively small, as you know, but it certainly can work. The nice thing about the iBooks version is that it is easily navigable. There's an electronic table of contents. You can find what you're looking for, click on it, go right to it. If you don't have an Apple device, then you've got a PDF version. The content is exactly the same. It's just a little harder to navigate. So those are both there. And again, I recommend that you download those and have those available. this is what the iBooks version looks like. You can see here, right? The blue highlight is kind of table of contents, the section where you are. You can match it up here, but just go to whatever other section you want to go to right here by clicking on them, and then you can expand the other chapters as well. So it's a useful thing to have handy. This is what the PDF version looks like. Again, the content is just the same. You'll note these kind of large print forms, the charts, and this is the page break here. And you just have one big vertical scroll for the PDF. So same content, just a little trick to navigate. Your book includes this as well. This is the chart of the first 3 declensions from your book. At this point, we'll be starting the noun review proper. For better or for worse, these are forms that you need to know. So it's important that you are able to know the endings. All right. So for instance, the second declension neuter, e, o, o. There we go. Orm, is, etc. If you don't know these from Latin 1, there's a good opportunity to take the time to get to know them. You probably will need a refresher course. And so this is your week to take care of that for nouns. All right. The other thing to keep in mind is that vocabulary is as important. We talked about this last year, but remember that endings do overlap. So you can see in third declension there's an I ending, and in second declension there's an I ending, right? And the only thing telling you whether that is genitive singular of the second declension or dative singular of the third declension is the vocab information. So knowing that it's a micus, a mici, which is second declension versus versus lex legis, which is third declension. All right, and remember that the genitive singular gives us the declension. So that I in the genitive singular is second declension, the letter I. The is in the third declension, in the genitive singular is third declension. All right, so I thought we'd just do some practice with some nouns. This is the opening of Virgil's, the famous Roman poet's iconic poem, the Aeneid. All right, arma virumque cano, and you can see the prompts down here. What is the gender of each accusative noun? All right, and then translate the excerpt. So, 1 accusative noun, 2 accusative nouns. Even if you were to think that this is a noun ending, it can't be accusative, right? Because the O is not an accusative ending. And it makes sense that it is a verb, given that we have 2 pretty distinct nouns in arma and virum. And so this is the I ending for the verb. And yes, we'll be getting to verbs next week, but obviously jumping ahead a little bit. All right. Kano, as you can see here, means to sing. So I sing. And in English, we usually sing of or about something. So I sing of arma virumque, arms or weapons, and a man. And that man, of course, is Aeneas. To answer number 1, the gender of each accusative noun, if that A ending is accusative, that means the gender has to be neuter, because that's the only way the A ending can be accusative. And then that virum, meaning man, the gender is going to be masculine. All right, taking a look at another example. All right, so the poet Catullus, a little earlier than Virgil, and writing very different kind of poetry. Virgil writes epic poetry. Catullus writes more incidental, everyday poetry. All right, so we have a bunch of underlined nouns. They are in the accusative. So we want the gender, number, and declension of these nouns. All right, and then you've got an unannotated text on the right. So again, in Kendia, because of that A ending, right, so it's got to be neuter, and it's got to be plural because of that A ending, right? Remember, the A ending can only be accusative plural. It can't be accusative singular. And in Kendia is going to be second. Now, in the neuter, at least, the ending cannot tell you declension. That could just as easily be a third declension neuter noun. You might have to look some of those up. Again, use those vocab resources that I talked about in an earlier slide. So, ruinas, with that AS ending. That was a bad circle. I apologize about that. Better. All right, again, that AS ending can only be one gender. That is feminine. It can also it should be plural, but it can also only be plural as well. And it has to be first declension because of that AS ending. All right. Facta, same as in Kendia. All right, with that A ending, neuter plural, second declension. And then dolos, with that os ending, that is going to be masculine. Again, that os can really only be masculine. Few exceptions, but very rare. It's got to be plural because of the os. And then it's going to be second masculine. Second, we already know it's masculine, but the us form of second declension nouns rather than the which is the neuter. All right, and then a couple final texts, a little more modern, so to speak. All right, so we have 2 third declension nouns. All right, we only have 3, but one of them is repeated. 2 different forms of the same one. All right, I'm sorry, we have 3 nouns, only 2 third declension nouns. Gratia is a first declension noun. All right, so ours, that's going to be that nominative singular. And remember that for third declension, the nominative singular is variable. There is no set ending or form for it, and that's what that is. And then artis is going to be that genitive singular. All right, and again, remember that IS for third declension nouns is going to be the genitive ending. All right, so for the University of Michigan motto, those are our endings. We know they're all nominative because they're the nominative. Or sorry, they're the subjects of the motto. All right. So case and declension. So nominative. Third declension. That es ending really is going to be only third declension. It can be fifth, but fifth is relatively rare. Let me just clean that up a little bit. I didn't like how that looked. All right. So nominative, third. All right, and it is plural. Scientia may look neuter, especially given some of the examples that we've seen, but it is going to be nominative first declension. It is scientia, scientiae, and then veritas is going to be another nominative third declension. Okay, it is going to be another one of those variable third declension nominatives. All right, and a final text. All right, the third declension nouns in the above excerpt are underlined, all possible cases and numbers of them. All right, so to know actually what case it is, you might have to translate it, which we're not necessarily going to do, but name all the possible cases. So sidera, if it's third declension with that A ending, that means it has to be neuter, and the A ending can only be either nominative or accusative, plural. All right. Manes, same thing, although not neuter. Right? Manes is going to be masculine, nominative, and accusative, plural. And again, these are possible endings. These are not the actual endings. Possible cases, not the actual cases. Obviously, we need to know context to know the specific case, but each word, of course, will have a specific case. All right? And then third declension with that E ending, that's going to be ablative singular. All right, and again, in third declension, that E is going to be ablative singular. Final one, all right, soars, all right, that is going to be the variable nominative, so nominative singular. All right, and question number 2, in terms of agreement, all right, soars and nulla are going to agree. Note that nulla is nominative singular, and then scalera and meo are going to agree. Note that meo is ablative singular. All right, your summatives for this week. Your formative for this week is a big multiple choice noun review. Take your time with that. Look things up. Use it as an opportunity to review. Don't just kind of rush through it and finish it as fast as you can. That's the idea behind it. Your summatives are also noun reviews. They're more open-ended. They're not multiple choice, of course. And you'll be sort of doing different things with nouns in that. All right? So, live session on Tuesday at 7:30. Sorry about that. One final phone call as I'm wrapping up. Live e-session will be tomorrow, Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Again, there won't be really any prepared content. Come with questions, come with things you want to go over. We can practice things, etc. Have a good week, and if I don't see you Tuesday, hopefully I'll see you at another one. Thanks.